Hi, Year Threes. In this week's narrative writing lesson, we're going to learn about narrative text structure. So we've already learned about what narratives are, and you have started to collect some resources, gathering ideas about the kinds of settings and characters that you can use to write your own narratives. So we're going to learn about the structure of a story. If a story doesn't have a structure, they can seem really jumbled and they don't really make sense, and it can be very confusing to the reader if there's no storyline or characters get introduced all over the place. So to start off with today, you're going to watch a video of Betty White reading the story Harry the Dirty Dog. After you've done that, we'd like you to ask yourself the following questions. What happened at the beginning of the story? What goes wrong when Harry arrives home? And how is this problem solved? So start to think about what was the structure of Harry the Dirty Dog. Then have a look down at the anchor chart that we have here for you. So a narrative structure goes something like this. It starts with your orientation. The orientation is at the very start of your story, and it's where you introduce your setting, your characters, and start to give us an idea about what's going to happen in your story. Then comes along the complication. So this is a problem or a challenge that your characters need to solve along the way. But they don't solve it straight away. There has to be a series of events that make sense, that follow on from one another. That's called sequencing. These are the events that occur to the main characters as they work their way through trying to overcome the challenge or resolving the problem. Finally, you have your resolution. The resolution is the ending of your story, and it's usually the solution to the problem in the traditional story. So this may lead to the characters being happy or unhappy with the conclusion of what happens at the end. Let's now go to the gingerbread man. So this is an illustration for you of the orientation, complication, series of events, and the resolution of a traditional story that you will all know, the gingerbread man. So here we go. Once upon a time, there lived a sweet old woman and a grumpy old man. So you can see here in the orientation, the main characters have been introduced straight away. They lived in a tiny cottage down near the river. There's the setting. The grumpy old man was hungry, so the sweet old woman decided to bake him a gingerbread man. They're setting the scene. That's the beginning of the story. Here comes the complication. Soon the tiny kitchen smelled of delicious gingerbread. The sweet old woman opened the door. All of a sudden, the tasty gingerbread man jumped off the oven tray. He ran out of the door and down along the street, with the old woman running tiredly behind. The gingerbread man cried, "You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man." Here comes the series of events that happen next. So it doesn't just say they caught him and that was the end. There's a few things that now happen. The gingerbread man ran through the grassy field. Before long, the whole town was running along behind him. No one was fast enough to catch him. The gingerbread man finally arrived at the bank of the wide river. He looked around for an object to transport him to the other side safely. So now we're wondering what's going to happen next. Here comes the resolution. Out of the bushes, a sly, hungry fox appeared. So this storyteller is starting to explain another character. He offered to take the gingerbread man across the river. As soon as they reached the other side, the clever fox tossed the gingerbread man into the air and ate him. Was that a happy ever after story? Not really. All right, back to our lesson. Okay, so scrolling down, the next part of your lesson is you are going to type into the boxes what you think the orientation was to that story, what you think the complication was, what you think the series of events was, and what you think the resolution was. So you're not typing exactly what was written on the story, you're writing what the orientation. So for an example, in here, I remember that there was a sweet old lady and a grumpy old man. So that's what I'm going to type in here. Sweet old lady, grumpy old man. And if I just go back over here, I remember that they were in a tiny cottage near the river. So I can type tiny cottage near the river. I'm going to leave the other boxes for you to complete year 3. What was the complication? What happened next? What was the ending? What was the resolution? Okay, your next task, year 3, is down here, is another story called The King of the Birds. Your job is to read through each of these paragraphs and you are going to work out which one is first. I'll give you a clue, the title. Which one's first? Which one's second? Third? I think it goes up to 6. And then down here, you can see that you can cut those out if you're able to print them and cut them out and stick them on here. If you can't do that, you could write using the draw tool. Oops, sorry everyone. You could write on here using the draw tool. Which one's number 1, which one's number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. Okay, that's it from me. I will see you in the week. Cheerio!